back to Purposeful. I'm your host, Ashley Bernardi, founder and CEO of Nardi Media, where we uplift the voices of those who are uplifting the world. And this podcast, Purposeful, is one of the ways we do exactly that. Today, I am joined by my friends, Craig Grossi and Nora Parkington, husband and wife, and the co hosts of the Stubbornly Positive podcast, a powerful movement and podcast rooted in choosing purpose and meaning, even in the midst of adversity. Craig is a military veteran and author of the book Craig and Fred, whose life was transformed by an unexpected friendship during his service, reshaping how he understands resilience and service. Nora brings a deep gift for storytelling, connection, and translating lived experience into hope and impact for others. I am so excited for our conversation today. Let's dive in. Craig and Nora, welcome to Purposeful.
Hey,
Thank you.
thank you, Ashley.
Thank you
I'm
so much.
so
What an
excited to
intro.
have you guys. So, for the audience, we're friends in real life also. Craig, you and I go way, 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 way back
Way
to
back.
middle school, like way back.
The
Middle
1900s.
school, yeah, the 1900s, high school together, the Mr. and Mrs. Robinson for life, class of
Brown.
2001. But so much of your story began years later of where you two are now overseas. So I would love for you to take us back to a very important moment in your life when you met Fred and explain to
Yeah.
our audience, who is Fred?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I was kind of lost in my 20s, like a lot of us are, just trying to figure out what to do. And even I liked, I joined the Marines after high school, and even in the Marines, I was like, I didn't really like the job I got, so I ended up switching jobs, and I ended up in Afghanistan, finally in like a role in an MOS, a field that I really enjoyed, and I was attached to a team of reconnaissance Marines. They're like our commandos, our top trained guys, and we were out in a really hot, really violent environment in Helmand Province called Sangin, and we had been briefed on what to expect there, and nothing was. It wasn't anything you'd want to put on like a flyer, for like a tourist destination. It was all scary stuff going on there, and you know, it was not the place I thought I would meet a dog that would end up becoming my first dog. And but those first moments, I go back to a lot in my writing, in our podcast, in the speaking events that I get booked for,
Where it all started.
and it's where it all started because I walked up to Fred, and he was this he was just this stray dog. He wasn't like a puppy. He was like a stray, like 2 years old, wandering around by himself, and he had no reason to wag his tail at me as I approached him, but that's exactly what he did, and that changed the whole trajectory of his life, but also my life, and it eventually led me to this incredible person that just like it took at my life and like into a completely different direction and showed me what is possible when you really embrace your artistic side and your self-expression.
You
And
really are.
yeah, and so Fred led me to Nora, which is
I was gonna
Oh,
make a joke, so that was all Fred.
no, yeah.
He
that's
gives me
so
too much
beautiful.
credit. It wasn't.
Oh, well, I want to I'll talk about the two of you, how you met, but let's
Yeah,
also go to, so you had this encounter with Fred, something cracked open in you, especially in
yeah.
this high stress, high stakes environment. What was it about that encounter that really cracked you open? And then tell us what happened from there.
Yeah, it was, you know, I, I think it was such a scary time.
Yeah.
We were constantly being bombarded with attacks by the Taliban, and I think a lot of us, were looking for something, to take us out of that, even if it was just for a minute, for a second. And Fred was this goofy little funny dog, that was just being himself, that just defied like everything that a dog should be in an environment like that. And it was just so amazing to us. And it was it was grounding. It was a reminder of like what life is supposed to be like, and how we were in this environment that is inconsistent with the human nature. I mean, war is not something
Yeah.
that we're meant to do. And
No.
so but honestly, it wasn't until years later, after I'd gotten home and kind of gotten out of the Marines, I was back in DC working for the government, that I really started to think really hard about those first moments with Fred, and I identified, that the fact that he wagged his tail at me, and like how that was like the butterfly kind of effect moment for me and for him, like, because if he hadn't wagged his tail at me, if he had growled at me, or like, tried to like, raise his fur like dogs do, like I would have turned around and never looked at him again, and that would have been it. But he made that choice to wag his
The
tail, and
hard choice.
the much harder choice, the vulnerable choice. And
Yeah.
then I started to realize, like, wait a minute, like I'm trying to do the quiet, like tough guy veteran route where I don't talk about stuff, and like, and it wasn't working. Like I was very unhappy despite having,
Yeah.
checked all the boxes: job, truck, apartment, um and I was like, maybe there's another way. Maybe Fred is an example to me of what, like, a different approach to this stuff. And I was like, yeah, I mean, a dog can be in a place like that and still find
Mhm.
some reason, some spark of hope in his soul to wag his tail, then what's my excuse? And that's where it really started to
Mm.
to
Stubborn
kind of take hold.
positivity was born.
Yeah, stubborn positivity was born in those moments.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that translates so beautifully to us, our lives as humans, looking at our pets, because they really do have
Mhm.
all reasons to be. I mean, like Fred in a war zone, I
Yeah.
mean, hearing bombs, still wagging his tail. Wagging tails, for anyone that's not a dog parent, that means they're happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And stubbornly positive is the perfect description of that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. It's important to distinct that it's not, we like to make sure that people understand we're not saying like just be positive. Like the
Yeah.
toxic positivity is a big issue.
Yes, for
And
sure.
this isn't like,
Dismissive.
yeah, what's the meme we always reference of
Yeah, we
like the
talk about
dog with the
there's
cup of
I think
coffee
it's
with a
like, yeah.
fire around it and it says like everything's fine.
Yeah,
Like
this is fine.
This
that's
is fine.
that's
Yeah.
Everything's
toxic
fine.
positivity. What
Yeah.
Fred did was like kind of lean into the challenges. Like and what you did was
Mhm.
lean into like face it, embrace the challenges and then move forward. So
Yeah.
that's the difference of stubbornly positive versus like toxic positivity
Yeah.
is really like facing the challenges head on.
Yeah, not ignoring them,
Yeah.
looking at them, walking through them,
Acknowledging,
right?
feeling. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
still and coming out on the other side. And so once you started, so you learned a lot from Fred, obviously.
Oh
What
yeah.
happened to your life once you started to mimic that stubbornly positive attitude?
Hmm. Yeah, I started to
Open up.
open up and really get in touch with the Craig that you knew from
Mm.
high school.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I had kind of buried, because in high school, I mean, like I was a very expressive kid. I was always on stage. I was always like behind a microphone, always just looking to make friends and make people laugh. Like, but the Marines kind of, beat that out of me, by design. And I never really felt like those aspects of my personality were like worth anything. And
Mm.
I always felt like I was coming up short, academically and just as a person. And so I thought it was a good thing that I wasn't like that anymore. But now I have this dog and this story that
Yeah.
demands to be told.
Yeah.
And so at the dog park, when people would ask what kind of dog Fred was, I would just like let it fly. I would just tell the story. And every time I told the story, like I could feel like 16-year-old Craig kind of like waking up a little bit more, and until it just, I started to make choices. Like I left my job, and I got into college, and I went to Georgetown. And that was a big decision, because now I'm writing every week for school,
Mhm.
and I'm really enjoying writing, and I'm like,
Mhm.
well, I got this story that I love to tell. Like I should write my own on my own time. And it just like snowballed in such a beautiful, positive way. Yeah.
It really did. And so let's talk about the two of you, how Fred led
Yeah.
Craig to
Yeah.
Nora. I want
Yeah.
to hear this story. I actually don't even know if I know this story, so I'm dying to hear
Yeah.
Well, our dogs brought us
Our
together.
dogs brought us together.
it.
So that does
Yeah.
make sense. That checks out.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Um, I was playing hockey. I was still living in DC, and I was playing hockey with a veteran team. Most of them are wounded, or disabled veterans, and
USA
the
Warriors.
USA Warriors. It's a great nonprofit.
Amazing.
And we went on a trip to Boston, and we played like a bunch of different games. We played like a fire department and stuff like
At
that
the garden.
at the Garden. And
Yeah.
this was in
Big deal.
This was in like early 2014, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. Um and afterwards we went to like a dinner at a bar on Boylston
Like
Street.
sports bar, McGreevy's, which doesn't exist anymore.
It doesn't, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't meet. Yeah, the simple version is we met at a bar, but I was a touring musician with this band that were part owners from McGreevy's. So I was invited to an event because I had been touring with them for years. The Dropkick Murphys. Most people know shipping up to Boston. It's like
Yeah.
you hear it every sports game.
National anthem of
Yeah,
Boston.
it's also like the national anthem of
Yeah.
Boston. So they invited me to go, and I actually wasn't going to that night because Ruby just came into my life, my little dog. She
Wow.
was only like, I don't know, 12. She was like
She's a puppy, yeah.
No, she was probably like, yeah, she's young, like a couple months old.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to leave her, but I had a single friend that like dragged me out, and um yeah, so she started talking to one of Craig's friends, and
Yeah.
then we started talking. So you started to tell Amy the story of Fred.
I started to I'm sure it was like completely unprovoked, but I just started launching into the story of Fred. And Nora's friend is like, hears me get going with it. And she's like, hold on, hold on. Like, I have to go get my friend Nora. She just got a dog. She's going to love this story. She loves dogs. And I had seen Nora like walk in, and it was like,
I
it was
know what
like
he's gonna
it was
say.
like that scene in Wayne's
I
World
know what
where
you're
Garth sees at the donut shop, and like
And the
Dreamweaver
music slows down.
Dreamweaver comes
Everything
on.
slows
Yeah,
down.
totally.
I did have red hair, like deep red hair. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it
Ooh,
was a different
okay. I'm gonna have to see
hairstyle.
pictures of that, Nora.
Yeah.
Talk about moments like Fred wagging his tail, Nora walking into that bar that night. Like that, there was just two pivotal moments in my life, so turns out that Nora is the friend that Amy's talking about. So she's like, "Let me go get my friend,"
Yeah.
and she walks over with Nora, and I'm just like, okay, like I'm like in the middle of the story, and my voice gets deeper, and like
Well, he
everything.
starts telling the story of Fred.
Yeah, yeah,
Because she was like, "Oh, my friend just, got a dog. She'll love the story of
yeah,
Fred." So
yeah.
she stops him, yeah,
Yeah.
over.
And I tell the story, and then next thing I know, Nora and I are like talking about our dogs, and I'm showing her pictures of Fred, and she's showing me pictures of Ruby, and
Yeah.
and we just connected,
We
over
were
our
friends.
yeah, we were friends. We became friends that night, and we just kind of stayed in touch. We were both like otherwise kind of involved at the
Yeah,
time.
it sounds like we were flirty, but we weren't. It was
No.
very much like I made a new friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like super platonic. And
Yeah.
then Craig started sending me copies of the first version of his book of Craig and Fred.
Yeah.
Because he didn't know
Wow.
anybody really creative at the time.
Yeah.
So he had emailed me. I didn't see, or like messaged me on Facebook. I didn't see it for months. It was one of those kind of just
She's playing it cool.
yeah. No, just like actually didn't. But when I read the story and really read it in depth, like that really changed my perspective of Craig, like as a person of just, it's a lot deeper. It was a much more meaningful story when you read it than hear it, the quick
Yeah.
version at
Well,
the
and something told me that, like, honestly, yeah, I knew, we had talked about your music, and like Nora's a incredible musician and songwriter and
Incredible.
singer, and
Yeah.
I'd never really met anybody like that before, and I was like, you know what, like she's creative and she's a writer, and seems like the kind of person that will tell me what I don't want to hear, and I need that. Like a lot of people that would have read that first version and been like, it's great,
no.
but I didn't want to hear that. I wanted to hear like what it needed.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And you told me exactly what it needed.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So
Yeah.
pushing him
Mhm.
a little outside of maybe his comfort zone because you could see the potential.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I had never written, I've never read somebody's first draft of their book.
Mm.
It's different than a
Mm,
song. I've heard lots of like different versions of a first draft
mhm.
of a song, but like a
Yeah.
book. But my advice to him was the first draft of the book was actually from the perspective of Fred or
Yeah.
Justin. I
Fred.
can't
Yeah.
remember. But I was
Wow.
like, this is really great, but like people are going to want to know who is this guy that risked all of this for the dog? Like this
Yeah.
has to be
Yeah.
first person narrative, and it also has to like go into who you are. And like as a
Hmm.
songwriter, I understood that, not everybody can relate to going to war. Like we can't. Like I
Hmm.
can't imagine what that was like. I can't imagine because I wasn't there. I didn't experience it, but I can relate to fear. I can
Yeah.
relate to, different, and that's what songwriting does. It makes you relate to that person in a
Yeah.
song. So I just gave that advice to him, and that's how our relationship started.
Yeah. Yeah, we
Wow, from
started
a book
talking
as a
about
book editor.
Yeah, right.
That's how the producer
One of her
actually
many
began.
one of her many hats.
It's been now producing for like a decade.
Producing like
I mean, that's what
managing.
is so beautiful about being a creative
Yeah.
is that like it's unlimited. It really like it's like it makes me think of the song from Wicked, Unlimited Kids Love Unlimited, because once you tap into that creative power and like it's for me, it's like it's dance, poetry, writing, art, and it can be anything. It's
Mm-hmm.
about your curiosity and
Yes.
exploration. And I think that's so cool how you've evolved creatively. And I want to give a shout out to your music, Nora, because when
Oh,
we learned about it when we visited in Maine, my family and I love the Parkington sisters.
oh,
Hello. Like that was
Oh,
like our road
you.
trip music all through Maine.
Oh,
that's great.
that's great. I want to
Yeah.
know later what songs you
It's
guys
great
like.
drive. It's
I
great
love
driving
the
music.
latest album is so awesome. Yeah, if you're looking for like a Parkington Sisters song, search Today. It's probably one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's a good
That's a
one.
good one to start with. Yeah,
So
thank
good.
you.
We loved it all. Okay, so I love how your story has unfolded. So, and it sounds like in very many ways, Fred shaped the foundation of your relationship together.
Yeah.
Tell me what happened from there. Take us on the journey to where you two are now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was, and he sent me the first version of the book. That was probably the summer of 2015.
Yeah.
And we became friends. We were just like more active in like catching up with each other, but we both were going through breakups that we didn't know because we never talked about relationships. It was like
No.
super platonic. And I think that's like my first thing that made me trust him was that he was so just
Happy to be talking to you.
Oh my God, love
I
that.
lived in Boston. Like I love Boston, but I lived in Boston for 10 years. Like the like kind of laid back passive approach wasn't like the guys I was used to in Boston. It made me
Mhm.
trust him, and it really did build this like friendship foundation. What?
Honestly, I just was glad. I was just like pumped that you were talking to me. I was like, I just couldn't believe it.
So we were
So great.
we were just friends.
Yeah, we
and,
called ourselves pen pals.
and
Oh, I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
did we call ourselves-
Yeah. Yeah. We did.
we're such nerds.
Yeah.
It's so cute.
So great.
Yeah, and then we started dating that New Year's Eve.
Yeah. Our
He
our
came to
our date
Boston.
anniversary is New Year's Eve.
So it's been officially 10 years,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
this New Year's Eve.
Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
so Craig, did you go up to Boston?
Yeah.
I did. Yeah. Me and Fred jumped in my old Land Cruiser and
Awesome.
made the drive from DC during because I was in school full time, so I had winter break. And
Lessons
yeah.
here too is listen to your girlfriends because Amy was the one that asked me to come out that night. She was the one that was talking to Craig. I didn't want to do any of those things. And then when you came to Boston, it was because my best friend said to me, if you don't ask him up to like out to hang out, if you don't ask him to hang out, someone else will. So that was all. These are all my girlfriends with good advice.
Look
So
at all
listen-
those signs though. Like
Yeah.
like it's almost like the universe just pushing you to be together.
Yeah, and that's when you know it's meant to be. It just flows effortlessly. Like
Yep.
when there's so many roadblocks, that's when you know it's not really meant to be. But this just flowed so
Yeah, it
easily,
did.
and we started dating. I moved to DC like a few months later,
Mhm.
and the book deal came about that following
Yeah,
December.
I graduated Georgetown in 2016 and that spring and yeah and like I was interviewing for jobs and was going to go back into the intelligence world into the government and kind of got like tentatively hired, but they were like re-adjudicating my clearances and stuff, so I couldn't start for like 8 months, and I was like, all right, I got 8 months to get this book off the ground.
Yeah.
And so I really started to push to try to get the story out there and try to get exposure, and I had a proposal and sample chapters and everything ready to go, but we just didn't have any kind of notoriety, and we just kept pushing, and we just kept trying to get creative with different ways to share the story on social media and stuff, and something eventually just like, it was like filling the furnace with fuel and then just waiting for the spark.
He talks a bit about it in the last chapter. It's there's so much to how the story like took off, which
Yeah.
is really beautiful. And again, the universe just working on overtime for that
Totally.
to happen. But it also took. You got an article with the dodo
Yeah.
And then I took a video of Craig. I was like, people are going to want to see you talking. They want to hear you telling a story. So I took like a 3 minute, it's on YouTube, like
Mm-hmm.
not a very long
No.
video of you sharing the story of Fred. The dodo took the audio of that, made a video. It got like 40 million views. At the time
Mm-hmm.
in 2016, that was a big thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it grew to like 100 million in like a couple days.
Yeah.
And the dodo, that's how the book deal took off. And then we were off and running
Yeah.
since then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, there's even on social media, there's such a big following for Stubbornly Positive
Mhm.
and Fred. And what do you think it was that I have an idea, but I want to hear it from your words.
Yeah.
And what do you think it was that took people? Because it's so funny. I even have friends in the book publishing world that have been like, "Oh, you know Craig and Fred? I love
Yeah.
Craig and Fred." And I'm like, "That's so
Oh,
crazy. He's like household name," which I think is so
yeah.
cool. What do
That's
you think
sweet.
it is that really took stole people's hearts?
Hmm. I think it was the time. Like one thing is just
Yeah.
the time, but I think it would be timeless no matter what. I think people were really looking for a meaningful, positive,
Yeah.
beautiful story
Right. That could bring people
that
together.
could bring and like applies to everybody. Like
Yeah.
it really,
Yeah.
everybody feels it. What are you thinking?
No, yeah, definitely. And I honestly, I think a big part of it was Fred. Like
Yeah.
he was
Yeah.
so unique
Yes.
and so like just such a handsome, striking, like wise boy that like there's
Infectious.
a lot of famous dogs on the internet and they're all fantastic, but like there's none of them look like Fred. You
Yeah.
know, like he was,
Yeah.
just such a unique little man and had such a great way of like just the way just would draw people in. I mean, you just walking him around like anywhere, he just made people smile just
Yeah.
looking at him,
But I think Craig also has this part of him that Fred does, which is just like so authentic and so charismatic, and people just want to get to know and listen to them both more. So I think it's the two of
Hmm.
you. As much as you give Fred so much credit, and I do too. I mean, he was extraordinary. Like
Yeah.
Fred was not we call him like a prophet. Like he was like
Yeah.
he was not from
I
this
think that makes
world.
sense.
Yeah, he
Because
really was.
also it's I almost like feel like he's very much alive today.
Yes,
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
In the
He
way
is.
that you talk about him and the way that he shapes your foundation of the work that you do.
Mhm.
Talk to me about how he is still in your lives today.
Well,
Hmm.
that's the beautiful thing about loss is that it's the one thing you can take from it is that the relationship's not over. Like the
Yeah.
relationship can continue in different ways, and we've struggled with it, but we've found it, and it's growing.
Yeah, totally.
That bond still grows.
Yeah, and that's it's there's times where it's very healing and helpful, but there's also times where you're just like, man, I just wish they were still here, like
Of
physically,
course.
but
Totally.
it doesn't have to, like that, like you said, Nora, like that, it doesn't have to
It
end
doesn't have to end.
the relationship. It just takes it just enters a different kind of realm,
And his message still applies, and we're still finding meaning
yeah.
in a lot of it. And I think now I was just thinking this recently because we've been making a lot of videos, and they're getting like millions of views again, and it's so nice to see people still resonating with his message.
Hmm.
But I'm also like so glad we just had all of these memories with him and all these moments,
Mhm.
and we weren't so focused at the time of making those into videos. And
Yeah.
now,
Mhm.
like with the relationship in a different phase,
Yeah.
making the videos is like we were so present with him in
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
single moment,
Mhm.
and I'm so grateful for that
Yeah.
we can look
Me too.
at those years and just be like, we just all of it was for you, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
And
think
what a
that's
gift. Oh, so
Yeah.
go ahead. I was just gonna say, what a
Yeah.
gift you still get to very much. And I relate to this, having lost my dad. It's the same thing. It's like, I love talking about him.
Yes.
And in many ways, I'm in conversation with him. And in some ways,
Yes.
it feels like he's more alive now than he was.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it's just what a gift to be able to still have him very much in your lives, but in a different way, just not in the
Yeah.
physical realm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which is really hard. Like, don't get us wrong. Like, it's
Yeah.
not easy. And the first year was so foggy and strange and like trying to make sense of it all. And I
Yeah.
think everyone relates to that in their losses. But now there's just a little more purpose in it. And it's a little easier to talk about it and a little easier to look at the videos and make videos. And people love it too. People really miss him and like they'll get emotional. And I think it's a good standard to kind of look at the way that we've been navigating our loss, I think for other people too, to like see that this relationship doesn't end. And
Yeah.
it's taken, the grief aspect has taken a new meaning and a new purpose for us too, to show
Totally.
people that this relationship doesn't end.
Yeah.
Yeah, grief. I do want to talk about that for a minute, just because there's obviously, Craig, I know you had so much loss when you were at war, and then of course the both of you with um, the loss, the physical loss, and transition
Yeah.
to Fred.
Right.
For someone who is walking through this loss, transition, trauma, what does stubborn positivity look like?
Yeah. To me, it looks like acknowledging the pain, like first and
Yeah,
foremost, like just saying to yourself, "This sucks. This hurts,"
yeah,
and not letting that like get pushed or buried, and then finding something within that space, within that painful space, to wag your tail about, to be grateful
yeah,
for,
yeah.
and and for us, it's a lot of times it's the memories. It's like Nora said, like
Mhm.
we spent every day with Fred. Like we could probably count on one hand
Yeah.
the
The
number
days
of
we weren't with
days
him.
we weren't with him, when like from
Yeah.
the time we got together, to the time that he crossed over. And like that's just such an incredible gift. And like he went to 49 states.
Yeah.
If we could
If we could drive,
if we could have driven him to Hawaii, like we would have done it,
You would have.
yeah,
Yeah.
his last months of his life, we had driven to Alaska.
Yeah, and he
So
loved that.
that was,
He always wanted to get in the truck and go. Like that
Mm,
dog just he was such a traveling spirit, and it was just such a part of his DNA. And
and perfect family to be a part of because we have that too.
yeah, yeah,
Like
we
we
do.
all
Yeah,
have.
we love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like and just everywhere he went was so much more significant because of where his life
yeah,
started,
Yeah.
And so,
so true.
like that's I hope for that people can see that that's different than when you're when you've had a loss and someone says to you, well, it could have been worse, or well, they
Yep,
didn't suffer like that. Those
yep.
are all fine things to say in the like in the like at the wake, but like in the 6 months down the road, when you're at home and you're like, what was that, like what like what is this pain, like you need to
Hmm.
you can't rest on those
No.
comments and that
Nope.
mentality. You need to enter that painful space, and then
Oof.
within it find a reason to wag your tail. And that's a hard thing to do. I'm not going to say stubborn positivity isn't for the easy days. It's not for the like, the little like, oh, it's a traffic jam, I'll be stubbornly positive. I mean, sure, you can like you can use it in those moments too, but this is for life. This is for the real stuff
Mhm.
that
The
that
real
that
challenges.
comes at us, and that we have to find a way to navigate. It's stubborn positivity is a great tool.
I think it's also so relatable to our times that we're facing now.
Yeah.
And we don't need to get into politics or anything, but I
Mhm.
think there's a lot of people that are hurting in the
Yeah.
Yeah.
world. And
Yeah.
just a lot of people I talk to, also children, Mike. I mean, there's just a lot of worry and concern. And I was actually cleaning my youngest daughter's room the other day, and you guys will love this. There was a stubbornly positive sticker right on her
Oh,
mirror
No way.
that she
Oh,
looks at every single day.
that's
And so,
great.
like, just to show you guys the impact that you're
no,
Yeah.
making by
exactly.
sharing your voice with the world,
Mm.
not just with my family, but with the millions of other people out there. Um,
Yeah.
I'm just so grateful that you two have dedicated your lives to this.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it is changing the world. And I feel like it's I don't want to throw it on you, but it's almost like because you have this story and message, you have a responsibility to
Yeah.
continue to tell it.
Mm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, that's how we feel. I feel like for you, I mean, you could speak about this. I don't want to speak for you, but this was your purpose. Like
Mhm.
out of the military, when things were so
Mhm.
confusing and you were battling your PTS, we call it PTS, not PTSD. We drop the disorder at the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Just, yeah. Get rid of that stigma there.
Yeah.
But when you were battling your PTS, yeah, that was, um, I lost my train of thought. I was going and then
No, that's all right.
well, what is that?
You just this like my purpose.
Yeah, I mean that became your purpose
Yeah.
with the story, is like sharing the story. And then as we've like developed stubborn positivity, I mean this is our purpose now. This is our duty essentially now.
Hmm.
Yeah, and now you have a podcast.
Yeah.
So I want to know what so you have tell us a little bit about the podcast and then what's next on the horizon in terms of the stubbornly positive movement.
The podcast is very much a Nora like thing. You are the producer, the
Yeah.
editor,
We
like
both are
you.
co-hosts of the
We
podcast.
co-host. Like I just sit down and bump my gums, and Nora does all the hard stuff. So, but you and it was your idea for a long time. We started it really kind of started during COVID, where we would just do like Facebook lives, and we would like
Which
do
again was like we felt like our duty to
yeah
like help other people when they were, you know, stuck inside. It was like,
yeah.
okay, what can we do to brighten your day?
We
What
would
can
just hang out and like tell
Mm,
jokes and like
I
kind of
didn't realize how big it was. I didn't realize how, I mean, I saw the numbers. I knew there was a lot of like thousands and thousands of people watching it every,
yeah
because
mhm.
we did it Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but I didn't realize how much it meant to them. And so when we started the podcast, people were so excited, like, oh, we're doing, you
yeah
know, now this is like a new format of those live videos.
yeah
But it means
Yeah.
a lot to us because when we started the podcast, it was right before Fred's cancer journey. And it really became another purpose for us to continue with this message and his
yeah.
story. But we have a lot of we have guests, and a lot of it is just our life in
Mhm.
Maine and all the different challenges we see and experience
Yeah.
and just how we're navigating it.
Yeah.
But a lot of inspiring people like you, Ashley.
Exactly. Yeah, it was really fun to have you on,
Oh,
Ashley.
I that was the one of the highlights of my end of 2026. What a great
Oh,
time
So
we
fun.
yeah.
had.
That was
I will
so
come back
fun.
again, but I more importantly, I'm ready for my family to come up to and do another Maine visit.
Let's
Yes.
go. Get up here.
Maybe just move up there at this point.
The toboggan national championships is coming up. If you guys want to do a quick trip
I
up
keep
True.
we keep talking
back to
about it.
Camden. Yeah.
Yes, I'm in. And we also Scarlett, the little one, has her little Camden sweatshirt she wears all the time.
Yes.
And like Maine had a big impact on my
It
family.
well, it has an impact on everyone, which is
It's
so
yeah.
beautiful. And it's why so we started a nonprofit
Yeah,
and
speaking of what's next, yeah.
Yeah.
started a writing retreat. And a lot of it is because every time, even in Alaska, when we'd say we were from Maine, Alaskans would be like, oh, I love Maine. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you live in the most
Yeah.
legendary state.
Right.
So Maine is so beautiful. It's so neighborly. It just has all of the things that people look for, and that's why they come in the summer. So we're starting a writing retreat for veterans and for anybody who's experienced trauma with other, you know, therapists and yoga instructors. We're gonna like get everybody on board. This is new that we just started this like
Yeah.
officially, yeah,
Yeah, we like
in
just got our 501(c) status. Yeah.
yeah. So we're excited to bring more people to Maine and show what Maine has and also, you know, work through our traumas through writing, which
Yeah.
is really helped Craig and his journey. And like, again, like, as much as we say like Fred wagged his tail, it's like also Craig wagged his tail and look what happened in his life
Yeah.
too. And he did that with Fred's help is, you know, 2 books and
Yeah.
yeah, just,
Yeah. Well, the
More
concept,
books? Do you think there's more books one day?
oh yeah.
I'm working on a third one. It fits and starts. I've like just trying to come together. I've got a bunch of like sample type chapters, but you know, it's just like the hard probably of my 2 books, this has been the hardest one to really get a grasp on and really feel like I have um some momentum, but it's coming. It's coming. Yeah.
And it's like
Yeah.
I've learned, having written a book myself, you can't rush creativity. It's
No.
like when
Yeah.
you feel it in you, it just kind of nags at you until it's like, okay, I got to write something, or I'm
Yeah.
never like this needs to be birthed. And it's also a little bit of waiting to see when you get that. It's almost like a divine download.
It is, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It is, and it's like something like there'll be moments where I'll be like, I got like we'll be doing something. I'm like, I gotta go write for a minute,
Yeah.
like, and it's
Yeah.
just
Very used to that.
yeah,
Very used to Craig.
I have to run
Very
up,
easy. In the middle
like
of dinner, a
yeah,
date
yeah,
night. Gotta
He's
go.
also
yeah,
he's also used to me like waking up and hearing me like record a voice memo of a
right,
song.
yeah.
And so we're both, you know.
I mean, that's what I love about Nora, like and like your lyrics and stuff like what somebody like you can do with a song, the story
Mm.
and the emotion you can invoke in like a 2-minute song that would take me like 100 pages, you know, to get
I
there. Like
feel the
that's
same
what's
way though, how he's a Craig is also his public speaker and I don't know how he does it. Like I I struggle, like honestly, just on the podcast, like daily, weekly, with like expressing my thoughts and like, like what just happened when I
You're a
lost
very
my
good
train of
speaker.
thought. But that's also such an amazing skill to be able to speak from your heart and be authentic in front of, thousands of people. Are we just
And also,
hyping
what a
each other
beautiful
up
way
Yeah,
for
right now?
yeah.
healing. Don't you both feel like being creatives and expressing in this way? At least this was my experience. Like, I felt like I healed so much of my childhood trauma by writing about it. And
Mm,
I'm like, who knew? I'd never
Yeah.
written it before until I wrote my book. And then you're like, whoa, I think something shifted here.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And the concept really for our nonprofit, the Stubbornly Positive Project, a lot of that kind of came from realizing, like, because my second book is about Fred and I teaching a writing group
Yeah.
in Maine State Prison.
Mm.
And I saw, like, just like I'd never done anything like that before, but I was like, but I knew writing Craig and Fred really helped me. And then I got to know a lot of them were veterans that were incarcerated.
You also worked in prisons.
And I worked in prisons and in my first 4 years in the Marines. And I was like, I'll just come in and like, I'll give these guys like a writing prompt and see, just let them go with it, And my syllabus was like 6 weeks of like writing prompts. And we got to the end of that 6 weeks and I was like, all right, guys, like, do you want to keep going? And they were like, yeah, like, this is awesome. So it just kept going. We went for over a year. I was going in every week, sometimes twice a week. And just these guys, the way they were just opening up at the first chance they got, in this,
Mm.
talk about a toxic environment, like, any kind of vulnerability in a prison is used against you, and these guys, like, were just so drawn to a safe place where they could open up and share. And I was like, wow, like, what if we could create that, on the outside in Maine, which Maine, like we've said, is just such a healing, beautiful, like,
Hmm.
place where people really, you, when you get off the plane or when you cross over that bridge and like you get into Maine, like, you really feel it. You really
You,
feel the,
yeah,
like,
your
I
body
felt
just,
it.
yeah,
I
your,
felt a huge
yeah.
difference.
And like that inspires so much of a return to ourselves, that we all
Mhm.
need to have.
this is also proof of what happened. You might not feel like you're following your dreams sometimes, and you might feel like frustrated of where you're at. But when you look back, you realize you've been planting seeds this whole time.
Yeah.
And like Craig, every time we look back, it's like even Craig's work in the military brigs, like who knew that would lead to like his second book. And
Yeah, it's
so
true.
there's just, I don't know,
Yeah.
we so often it's like this fast pace to like get where we want to be, and you don't realize the whole time you've been planting seeds.
Yeah,
So, you know,
it's true.
yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're not, start. It doesn't need to be huge. Just
No.
seeds at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I could talk to you two for hours because
Yeah.
I get
Again.
we will do it again. I get so
Yeah.
inspired. And I just yeah, I think so much about planting seeds and also like sometimes you'll plant them, they don't go anywhere, but then just keep
Yeah.
planting them,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And you
They're
never know
gonna
which one is
grow.
gonna take
Yeah.
off
Yes.
and turn into this beautiful
Yes.
flower.
Yes.
So I just love that we've turned this into a creative conversation. And personally, like I want to go to your writing retreats.
Yeah.
I believe
Love to
writing
have
is
you.
so powerful, especially when you're in community with people, and you have an opportunity to share what's
Yeah.
on your heart, and being vulnerable with others is also very healing.
Yeah.
I will
Mhm.
say, Craig, too, because I grew up in a military family, how rare and beautiful it is to see a veteran emote in this way when
Mhm.
you're taught to be so stoic and strong. And even
Mhm.
after my dad died, it was like, your dad, Army colonel, you're strong. And
Yeah.
really, like when your body is crying for you to be expressive and use all of your emotions.
Mm. You're right. Yeah. Yeah. And like, it's just so unnatural to
Yeah.
like not do that. And throughout human history, like, that's not consistent. Like,
Hmm.
you look at the way ancient people mourned and like, and the way they took care of each other when they were struggling. Like, it's an invention. It's a thing that we've imposed on ourselves, and it's a real shame, and that's, like, you can get creative and find your own way to grieve and to mourn and then to turn that pain and that grief into something, purposeful, like,
Yeah.
which is what
Yeah.
you do every day too.
Vulnerability is strength.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
Yes.
Craig talks to kids about, students about this too. It's
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
that's yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. So beautiful. Well, I appreciate you both so much for joining me on
Yeah,
Purposeful.
thanks for having
Oh,
me.
And
thanks, Ashley.
you're living it. You're living your
So are
purpose.
you, Ashley?
And here we are. We both are. We all are. All
Yeah.
three of us. And
Yeah.
what an honor, what a pleasure. Keep doing what you're doing in the world. It's uplifting so many and it's so needed. So thank you, Nora and Craig, for joining
Oh,
me
thank you,
today on the
Ashley.
podcast.
Of course.
Thank you so much for having us.